We tried to warn them. They didn't listen.
Yeah!
Every week, the Hoffman Show goes into the belly of the beast.
We read those comments, baby.
Never read the comments.
All right, here we go. All these comments happen to be from my page this week, so make sure you're subscribed at Craig Hoffman. Again, we do read them on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980's pages as well, including on Take Command, on top of the Hoffman Show clips. And on our film review, we had this comment from Mark Harris, 1976. Logan and I talked about everything that went wrong on defense, and the problem is everything went wrong. Mark's comment, a little bit of everything went wrong. Perfect description. That's what it felt like Thursday night, and the last 3 weeks for that matter. This is why I got so mad earlier in the show and still just very annoyed by the do your job thing. It's this is your grand solution after, and of course they'll do other stuff, and hopefully there's schematic tweaks, and all this is just a kind of a new motto, new messaging. But your grand total is we looked at the tape, we looked at the data, and we figured out that the guys need to do their jobs. Cool. It's just so whack, Ant. I can't get over it.
I'm crying. You really don't like this, huh?
I hate it. I hate it because it assumes that they have done a good job of outlining what everyone's job is. If these silly kids would just do the thing that we asked them to do, we wouldn't have these problems. And it's you're asking them to do stuff that is nonsensical and not very clear. You're not asking them to do the thing that would actually seed the best results. That's what drives me nuts. As I said at the end of the opening segment today, do your job. You first. All right, more comments. This one from Vibe Check Tuesday, which we do every Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show. Put it up on YouTube, either Tuesday nights or Wednesday mornings. This one, a little bit of a longer, from Charles Merci. It's something else, but I'm going to read it in the French. Charles Merci. I've been a fan since the George Allen days. I've always had hope in the beginning of each season, even during the Snyder era, because I've always supported the coaches and the players. I was happy and especially hopeful this season. Everything and all the winds were blowing in the right direction, and I was willing to accept the Buffalo defeat as a step backwards in the 2 steps forward scenario. So against Chicago, the worst and most dysfunctional team in the league. Editorial note, the Cardinals would like to have a word on dysfunction. They get blown out. Add more editorial notes. So currently would the Giants. The worst and most dysfunctional team in the league, they get blown away in every aspect of the game. Actually, they're right. It's probably the Bears. Anyway, they simply had to tail Fields and don't let DJ Moore burn you. Just 2 players, and for the whole game, they didn't and couldn't. This one was all on the coaches and players. That was pathetic. I've got better things to do than follow this team. If they show they can win more than 1 game in a row, I'll rethink this. Here's what I would tell you. Charles Merci. If you have made it this far, don't let this one loss deter you. There are better days ahead for this franchise. I firmly believe that the people running it are smart. I firmly believe that this has become a great place to work, and thus, the kind of candidate that you will attract when you ultimately do move on from Ron Rivera is a much different caliber than what you would have attracted. One of the guys that's going to be the hot name this offseason is Ben Johnson of the Lions. He's the OC. He could have been a head coach last year. He decided he had unfinished business in Detroit. He's got them off to a ridiculous offensive start, and the team is 4-1. He will probably take a head coaching job this year. If Josh Harris calls Ben Johnson and is like, hey, man, I want you to be my head coach, that's a call Ben Johnson's going to answer. If Dan Snyder had called, Ben Johnson would have laughed him off the phone. His agent just simply would have not said, we're not interested, thank you. And they would have taken another job. I do not know, especially if Sam looks like he's a young stud at quarterback. I do not know how many jobs are going to be better than this one, because you're going to get every resource imaginable to succeed. And you're going to have buy-in from an owner who knows how to win, even if he has not won championships. Like, he has put together winning teams, and you have great resources all around and a passionate fan base and some pretty good players. Like, it might not be the best job in terms of roster, because there's a chance that Justin Herbert needs another head coach. They might just elevate Kellen Moore if they continue to play well offensively, but we'll see. And obviously Eric Bieniemy could be a candidate here. But the point is, like, it's going to be a frustrating year. Accept that. Even if they win some more games, which they're going to win plenty of more games, I do believe. Probably not enough to make the playoffs. Maybe. We'll see. But the long-term prognosis is still good. If you have gotten through the entirety of the Dan Snyder era, do not let this be the point where you exit the boat. That would be silly. That would mean you've wasted a lot of time. And you're going to miss out on some good ones, I think, in the future. This comment, who I apologize, this is because I forgot to copy and paste the username, but another good one on our Vibe Check Tuesday. We've been rebuilding the team with young players in the secondary. The scheme is more complex than y'all give it credit for. Secondaries need time to build chemistry with new players. New players need time to learn and get acclimated, and that takes time. That caused the slow start. We are pretty close to nearly complete as a team defensively. Outside of injuries, you can set your watch this defense clicking by week 7, and we will be done with giving up 30-plus points. If the D-line stays healthy, the defense can be even better than the top 5 unit it has been the 2 of 3 seasons so far, but we have a reason for excitement, because for the first time, our top 5 defense will have a quality QB and offensive coordinator and steadily improving offense to complement it. Look, I don't want to be an optimism buzz, but Anthony, can you remind me when the season started?
The NFL season or the Commander season?
The NFL season.
The NFL.
I think it's hilarious that you just asked that question. That's dead ass funny.
Because I didn't know if you were talking about the Thursday night game or, when everybody else.
No, when the well, yeah, but like the early September, right?
September 7th.
Yeah. So if you have things figured out by week 7, you've missed more than a third of the season?
Yeah, almost.
Those games count in the standings, right?
Yeah.
What's your point? Hey, it takes time for things to click. Okay, well then you should have done more work in the offseason. Like, these takes might sound intelligent, but they're actually not. Like, yes, you want to continue to grow, but the games count the same in September as they do in December. If you win a bunch of games in December where you lost a bunch in September and you wind up missing the playoffs after winning a bunch of games late, and it's like, we just needed more time. Maybe you should have adjusted your timeline a little bit. You should have figured out a way to get more reps in or install something that you could win with while you unlock your defense as you go, because then all you did by December was win a bunch of games that cost you draft position. That's not great either. It feels better at the time, but come April, doesn't feel quite as good. So this is the problem with Del Rio. Maybe this was actually Jack Del Rio commenting this. This is my problem with Del Rio the last couple of years. Like, you can't say, we'll be good after week 5. That is a quarter of the season. Like, the Wizards don't get 25 games in before there are 20 games in before we're like, all right, cool. If they go 5-15, like, they're in a 5-15 hole. That counts. The Caps, same thing. They don't get to start 5-15 and be like, we're just trying to figure it out. It's like, no, man, the season started. Figure it out. You don't have to be playing your best, but you got to find out how to win, because every other team has the same timeline as you. So who figures it out faster is in many ways the game. Don't give away the game. Last one on our Vibe Check Tuesday video from Jacob Kemper 4086, another member of the Your Name Would Sound Great in a Scottish Accent Club. Jacob Kemper. I've seen this before. We will go on a midseason run that will net 4 to 6 wins. Then we will lose a tough one at the end. And this bad loss to Chicago will be the reason that the late season loss to Dallas cost us the playoffs. But going forward, I am excited about 24, 25, and beyond. As in 2024, 2025, and beyond. To me, this is the correct... Again, don't let me be the one to regulate your feelings. I am not the emotional counselor of all Commanders universe. I don't want that job. That's my job. I need a raise. But I think that is the proper, safe emotional space to be in. If I was making a generic recommendation, I think that is the place to be. Know what's coming. Hey, I'm going to have fun, and maybe we mess around and get a playoff game. But really, how does Sam develop? What do we see from the offense? Can this defense figure it out? And, you get more data for the next guys to make the decisions with. And then be excited for the future. Just, you made it, as I told the first commenter, you made it this far. Now would be a silly time to get off the boat. Linnell joined us for Overreaction Tuesday. Always get a bunch of comments on that we wind up reading here on Wednesdays in Never Read the Comments. Charles J. Willard. Sounds very, very proper. Hello, it's Charles J. Willard here. There was a Washington coach who won 3 Super Bowls with 7 basic offensive plays. Strategy is not a substitute for physicality. If our guys can't win the one-on-ones, we lose. This is mostly correct. It's not that any part of it is incorrect. I would just say it's incomplete. Scheme is incredibly important. And it's something that I think I've had a better appreciation of since I started working with Logan, of how good scheme can unlock more potential for players. But a mediocre schematic plan executed well, which includes physicality, will beat a great scheme executed poorly 7 days out of the week, and specifically on Sundays. Physicality sounds better in a machismo, we kicked your ass kind of way. Cool. I just want to know, did you precisely run the route? Did you hit your landmark as a running back or as a blocker to get out in front? Did you, on the screenplay, get out and hold your line to make sure you don't pick up a penalty for being a legal man downfield if the quarterback has to wait an extra half tick to get the ball out? Execution, which sometimes is seeing the guy in front of you and smashing his face in a way that's advantageous for you, physicality, is king. And so that's what made Joe Gibbs so amazing, is he's we're going to take these 7 plays, or however many that actually was, and we're going to dress them up and run them out of different formations, but we're going to be so good at executing them that nobody can stop us. And that is kind of what, in a way, in a different version, that is what this offense is trying to do. They actually run a lot of similar stuff. That's the irony, is they run a lot of similar stuff. They've kept the playbook pretty skinny for Sam Howell in his first season here with the enemy. And they've tried to dress it up a little bit with some personnel and some formations, but they're not using a lot of motion, and they're really not running a ton of stuff. But where they can be better is more consistently executing. And from a play calling standpoint, I think doing a slightly better job of mixing and matching some of it to make sure that you don't put too much on Sam's plate. Also on Overreaction Tuesday, this one, why did I put this one in here? Sometimes I question my earlier decision making. Randy, I could still not read it, Anthony. Instead, here I go. Randy Redner 5831 says, briefly, it says we were exited. We don't need to make too much fun of the spelling, but we were exited, he means excited, for new ownership. Now we were just embarrassed as fans, and sadly at the end of the day, we're not surprised because we've become used to being a laughingstock. We got crushed by an 0-14 team. It just doesn't get any worse than that. Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. Thoroughly, genuinely embarrassing. They're not 0-14. Last year, they were kind of trying to lose games. This year, they had started to figure some things out. And I do think that there's a chance that we look back at this game in a couple of weeks and go, man, that was a weird Thursday night bit. They were tired. Chicago could look good the next couple of weeks. I don't think that loss is going to look as bad in a couple of weeks as it did at the time, but it clearly is not going to look good. They lost 40-20 to a team that hadn't won in 15 straight. But here's what I would say. I think this is the bigger point I wanted to make off this, and I think why I put it in here is I don't understand how this affects your excitement about new ownership. About your general feelings for the team, sure. But they took over on July 20th. This current football operation is not a reflection of the current ownership group. Say it again. This current football operation is not a reflection of the current ownership group. Everybody here was hired by the last guy or hired by the guy, Rivera, who was hired by the last guy. You can't make a change the day before training camp. So they're stuck for this year. And maybe eventually they make a change later in the year. But for right now, they just got to kind of march forward. And what they really should do is arm Rivera with everything that he asks for. And that way they can look at him at the end of the year and be like, hey, Buckwheat, we gave you everything. I don't know why Josh Harris is all. I don't think Josh Harris would call Ron Rivera Buckwheat. But he just did in my head. Hey, Buckwheat, we gave you everything that you wanted. And wasn't good enough. So see you later. We wish you well in your future endeavors. Thanks for being a good steward for the franchise while we were busy finding $6 billion to buy it. Our segment earlier this week, did we overrate the defensive talent? Anthony and I put Madden ratings on the talent on this defense, compared them to what we thought it would be at the beginning of the season. And we had some fans of this, Anthony. Raymond Jacquet, I'm just going with French on everything. Raymond Jacquet, 3955 says, love this topic. I think it's a combination of both coaching and player execution. As an example, individually, each player has a good rating, but as a unit, they're not playing well. In terms of coaching, why JDR didn't make the adjustment of having Benjamin St. Juste check A.J. Brown. Also, the way we have devalued the linebacker position is really hurting our defensive execution. Cole Holcomb is the better fit for our defense over Cody Barton. The Barton thing has not been particularly good. You do wonder why they didn't try to lock up Cole Holcomb longer term. I don't think he cost that much to go to Pittsburgh, but maybe Cole, who was a free agent, was like, I am getting the bleep out of here. That could be possible. I don't know that he loved it here. I don't know that he hated it here either. I truly, honestly don't know. But yeah, like, if you're going to play man, get the right men on the right men. And Emmanuel Forbes, while he competed his tail off against A.J. Brown, like, how many times is he going to get sunned before you say Benjamin St. Juste, like, let's go do this thing? So I do have questions there, certainly about some of the decision making when it comes to scheme and personnel management these last couple of games defensively. Dante Johnson, 2677 says, a lot of our problems are coaching. I'm not saying we have 11 all-pros, but we have talent that needs to be coached up. I watched a lot of other defenses, and all the good ones fly to the ball. That's coaching attitude preached to the players. Our players never fly to the ball. We jog and hope someone makes a one-on-one tackle. Trash. I think that last part is actually trash, like as in Dante's comment. They don't jog to the ball, but it doesn't feel like they fly to it either. And again, I don't know how much of this is approach and attitude versus playing with freedom. And just a freedom to be like, I got to go make a play. And knowing that there's mechanisms in place to cover for you. And that's the difference, honestly, between like good and great players. Like, good players will do their job. It kind of happens in the timing of the play. You know, you get a 3-yard gain on a run play. Everybody runs back to the huddle at 2nd and 7. Good job. Everybody did their job. Fred Warner is like, I'm going to be 2 yards in the backfield because I'm Fred Warner and I can shoot the gap, and I can do it because I know I'm going to make the tackle and I'm not going to get burned by it. Like, that's the difference between good and great. And they've got, I mean, Jamin makes some great plays with some level of regularity at this point, but largely he's good. Cody's fine. And these D linemen have not been able to make some of the impact plays outside of like the 3-and-out by Daron Payne against Denver to make up for it. Our changes coming after the Thursday night loss. That was a Take Command segment that we did. Bud Midge 3812 says, just a question, could the defense play worse? It seems clearly evident Ron won't be back. Why not move Eric up now and muddle through the defense the rest of the year with someone new? First of all, yes, you could be worse. You could be the Denver Broncos. Yikes. And I've talked about this before, but I think that you let Eric focus on the offense, and he can't solve the defense. And the staff is really bad. I mean, there was another one I thought I had put in here, but like it talked about how like Brett Visselmeyer and like his resume is not great. Like, seems like a good dude. You know, obviously the DBs have struggled. You know, the linebackers coach, like his resume is really not that impressive outside of having jobs for Ron Rivera. It's like they just don't have a staff that says like, oh, hey, if you fire this guy, the next guy's ready to step up. Like, there's just not a lot of potential options. And so you need someone who can call this defense. And that's the thing, is like Rivera can't even I mean, maybe he could, but like Ron's defense that he had in Carolina is not the one that they're running here. So if he fired Jack and it's like, oh, Ron could take over the defensive play calling. Could he? I truly, honestly don't know. And I don't know that he would be willing to answer that question. Maybe it was like, hey, if Jack was sick for a game, who would call plays? He'd be like, I'm not going to answer that. How dumb do you think I am? So yeah, it's a problem. It's not great, Bob. Anthony, last thing I want to do, there's another like dumb comment that, we've been doing the dumb comment of the week, but I decided I don't want to give that guy attention. Instead, I want to do this. In the comments this week, because people are so mad, we got all kinds of nicknames, specifically for Rivera and Del Rio. You ready for some of these?
I am. Looking forward to them. Uh-oh.
We got Rearview Ron.
Wow.
I think they're saying that he's old.
Yep.
This one might be my favorite. Jack Del Zero.
Jack Del Zero. Okay.
I was like, oh, okay. And I think almost, and now that I say it out loud, I kind of think it's funnier written. This one was on the Madden ratings, and it was actually directed at you. Because you were kind of, you said something this person didn't agree with about Montez Sweat. I think maybe this person's higher than you were on him, or maybe lower. Anyway, but they just called him Montez Almost Sweat. Got to get those pressures into sacks.
Yeah.
And then this one, the comment was simply fire Ron and Jack, but instead of Ron and Jack, it said these two nicknames. Rot Rivera, as in R-O-T.
Wow.
And Jag Del Rio. Just a guy. Jag Del Rio. That's pretty
People
funny.
got a lot of time on their hands,
A lot of creativity.
Yeah.
A lot of creativity. I'm impressed. Good job, commenters. Good job. Again, we don't endorse any of those. We're just here for a giggle.
Yeah.
That's Never Read the Comments here on The Hoffman Show, 5:30 every single Wednesday.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.